Welcome to the official Jets podcast. We are presented by WynnBET. Betting is a team sport. Bet together at WynnBET. Bart, first things first, Happy New Year to you and your family.
Hey, same to you, man. It's a tough one. The only way we can get through this is as a family, as a Jet family, because we're the only ones that can kind of empathize with our pain today.
So where do we start, Bart? 2023,
Yeah.
The Jets are embarking on one final game here in the regular season when just a few weeks ago, it sure looked like this team was headed for the playoffs for the first time since 2010.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that streak continues. 12 years, I believe, and it's not even close. And it's unfortunate because the future looks bright, but the future was also now, and the opportunity to get to postseason, to have an opportunity to get that type of necessary experience with a young team and a young roster, be ahead of schedule. It all kind of feels a little bit bittersweet now because you see the potential, but you don't want to have to carry this for an entire year to kind of get that monkey off your back, and to walk around. And it's just one of those tough things, man. They're going to have to grow from, learn from, and understand the consequences of not making it to the postseason. You talk about 35% turnover. It's going to be some unfortunate familiar faces on this roster that won't be here next year. And really the future begins now, right? You look at all the scouts and now how important bowl games become in the process, and it's a daunting, long road, and worrying about how get guys healthy. It's a lot to digest, and these guys are going to have to get away from it. Even the administrator is going to have to get away from it. Management is going to have to get away from it and try and digest it and take a breath and say, okay, it is what it is, and how do we move forward?
So what do you point to in terms of a backbreaker? You're 7-4, you're in Minnesota. You got a big deficit. You come back. Looks like it's going to be the fourth quarter magic again. You're not able to convert in the red zone in that game. 1 of 6. We can go back to that sequence where it's 2nd and goal from the 1. The Jets aren't able to get it done. The following week, their game in Buffalo, lose the turnover battle, but it's a one-possession game. Is it Detroit, though? Is it when you have that 17-13 lead at the 2-minute warning, 4th and 1, Goff gets his tight end wide open, 51-yard touchdown pass? What was the backbreaker? What changed? Because what has happened here the last 2 weeks has been really surprising for this team, I think, if you look at their body of work over the course of the season. But against Jacksonville, against Seattle, not really in those games at all.
Well, understanding how to finish, and this team don't understand how to finish, the mentality and the preparation when everybody else was fighting for their playoff lives and were able to step up. They weren't able to answer the bell. And, that should be the mantra going into next year. It's okay to start fast, but you have to finish. And it's a lot of teams that caught the Jets because they finished strong, right? And, you can't just get out too fast. And that's usually the sign of a young, inexperienced team. They get out fast, but as the pressure builds up, they can't handle and answer the bell. And, you can ask a lot of factors: inconsistency at the quarterback position, the defense seeming like they, didn't have the same pop. And, one of the strengths of this team was the fact that they did rotate 10 pass rushers. And they were able to make sure that guys could stay fresh. But guys really wore down, and, they became bad tacklers. And yesterday was an example of a team that was just more physical, right? And they've struggled with that type of back, those type of backs, the entire year. Guys that, were, not slightly built, that was kind of, big around the trunk, much like Shine Green. They struggle in being able to take those guys down. So they have to figure out, how do we become a better tackling team? How do we attack this type of back? Because Stevenson did the same thing to them, right? And then you think about Jamal Williams, same type of deal. You got to be able to figure out, when the pads get, when you take the pads off as a defense and as a team, how do we still learn how to tackle and be professionals and make sure our fundamentals are together? Because all of a sudden they became a bad tackling team. And all teams take off the pads usually after November because it's just a battle of attrition. You can't beat each other up and have the physicality in practice. But when you're inexperienced as a unit, those type of things and those bad habits happen. Sometimes you got to put the pads back on just to know how to be physical and how to take down guys who are running for their lives.
We expect you guys who play in between the white lines on Sundays to be supermen.
Yeah.
Mike White taking off, coming back to the lineup, reinserted as a starter after taking those vicious shots in Buffalo. He did not look like himself against the Seahawks, did he?
Not at all. And you talk about how many balls were inaccurate, how many balls were just coming up short. You think about the one to Mims, you think about the one to Garrett Wilson, just not really having really touching rhythm. Not only was he rusty, I don't think he had the ability physically to be able to put the torque on the football that we had seen from him earlier in the year. And he won't make an excuse and talk about, the ribs weren't ready. But as soon as you're clear from the doctors, if you're Mike White, you're playing for yourself and you're playing for your team. And this was an opportunity. Rarely do players get multiple opportunities to kind of show what they can do in this league, especially in those type of situations. And I'm sure that he probably won't admit it, but he wasn't ready, and he didn't have enough time to get in rhythm. What's disappointing is this fact that this team came off a mini bye, and they
Right.
just couldn't figure out how to get her done. And one of the reoccurring themes from the last three opponents was heavy shift in motions, getting the defense to have to move and shift and rotate and change strengths. And they just ran back to the open side. And that's tough. You look at the big run, they shift motion, get the defense to over adjust and move to the left, and then they run it back to the right. And they make it where okay, we're going to let one guy go, and if that guy misses with our big backs, then it's 88 and out the gate, and that's kind of what teams have been doing. Jacksonville did the same thing. They ran man beaters and crossed people up, and you know, unfortunately, the defense wasn't able to answer the bell, and they have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how do we finish strong and put together 17 great performances.
Man, obviously White didn't look like himself. He was cleared for contact. 23 of 46, was sacked 4 times. I can't even believe I'm asking this question. It's Monday morning, but I'm going to ask it again. Robert Saleh said last week that White's going to be the starter for the remainder of the year. Now you go into a game against Miami. That means everything for the Dolphins, where Sunday night you're going home, and that's it. Do you stick with White here this final game, or do you give him a breather because he's not himself?
No, I'm sure Mike White would want a shot at it, right? He wasn't himself, but he should be stronger next week. And you don't want to go back and put Zach Wilson in that position. He needs a heavy reset and offseason of being able to put his head in the books, get stronger, work on his craft. So you stay with Mike White, because also Mike White is auditioning for 32 football teams, including you, right? Because he's going to be a free agent, and you give him an opportunity to not have that be the lasting image of himself. Go out and try and put a good performance together. And, if you're the Jets, you can't finish 500. You just got to go back and see what you can do.
What's the message? What's the takeaway from watching a guy like Geno Smith have a career year with the Seahawks? Obviously, he was very good, very efficient again on Sunday against the Jets. But if you're a young quarterback and you look at Geno Smith's career arc that started here with the Jets, what's the takeaway?
It ain't over till it's over, right? And opportunities are far and few in between. And he had to wait. Just imagine he didn't answer the bell. He would say he had a lot of maturing to do. He maybe wasn't ready for the moment. He wasn't ready for the market, and it cost him 6 years of his career to be able to get another opportunity. How rare is that? And if you're a quarterback, sometimes you get that scarlet letter, and they in the league defines who they believe you are. You never get an opportunity to show otherwise, at least to ever be a starter again. Geno is a unique story. I can't recall a story where a player didn't play a start somewhere and then takes himself to the Pro Bowl and potentially takes his team to the playoffs. But, late in his career, after not starting for 6 years, able to get potentially $100+ million contract. Outside of Rich Gannon, I can't think of somebody who had a better redemption story, someone who didn't play at a high level, didn't really get opportunity, then went to the Raiders and took that team to the Super Bowl, and I think won MVP.
It's a wild situation because Seattle, now you figure, is going to give him some sort of an extension, because it looks like things
they have 2
are
first-round draft picks.
Yeah. Yeah. They have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds next year.
Yeah,
And that
so you
and
look
their
at it.
first round from
Mhm.
Denver is a top 5 pick.
Exactly. So you're looking at that, and they thought that first five, that number one pick was going to be a quarterback, but now you can say, listen, Geno's young enough. We can go with Geno for the next 3 to 4 years. Give him a 4-year deal, 4-year extension that locks him under contract, and they really recouped a lot of that stuff that they lost in the Jamal Adams trade as well, which Jamal Adams turned into Garrett Wilson and also turned into AVT.
That's right. What changed in Denver when AVT went out in Brees Hall? Now looking back, the season's not over. You got 1 game left. But this team started 5-2. It
Yeah.
started 6-3. It started 7-4. Right now, it is 7-9 heading into that final game. And since the bye, Bart, this offense has 8 touchdowns.
Wow. I mean, the easy scores, right? And you look at, a couple of games where they've just run blitzing and daring the quarterbacks to make plays. And whether it was Mike White or Zach Wilson or Joe Flacco, they just couldn't get it done. And, ABT created so much balance. He was so valuable. His ability to be able to be whatever you needed him to be was vital to this team. And they also lost a lot of the athleticism, being able to get, a guy who can pull, get to the next level, cut off linebackers, and utilize it that way. I mean, it'll be a sight for sore eyes. Hopefully, Becton can finally stay healthy, and we can have a team. But the strength was depth, and they lost that depth really quickly, and eventually they just couldn't overcome the lack of fundamental starters or players with experience.
Yeah, the
And
wheels totally fell off on the offensive line, right? It was a miraculous job John Benton was doing for a while. It
yeah,
felt like no matter who came in the lineup, they were going to come in and they were going to play well. We go back to that Buffalo game when the Jets had that drive at the
yeah.
end to win it, where they just ran it down their throat.
Well,
And you're
those guys
thinking
are
this can
fresh.
go on forever.
Well, those guys are fresh, and then what happens is when you overextend backups, they don't have the experience. They damn sure don't have the durability to continue to play at a high level. I think Dwayne Brown started to break down. It was admirable what he was doing, but you asked way too much from him. I mean, at this point, you probably should have used some like Dallas Cowboys used Jason Peters coming in, spilling guys out, playing on a pitch count. His count got up too high. You asked way too much of him, especially going against the best athletes on every team. At the left tackle position. And like I said, you would expect or hope that you can have a time where Becton can stay healthy for a whole season, ABT can stay healthy for a whole season, and you can have what you expected. 3 Pro Bowl caliber type of linemen. When you think about Langton, you think about AVT, and you think about Becton. That should be your bell cows, and that's what you hope that you can get and be able to get good play from the other 2 positions.
WynnBET is bringing the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas to online sports betting and casino play. Get in on all your favorite teams, players, and sports. From boosted parlays to live in-game odds on every major sport, they have what you need to win. Jets fans in New Jersey, sign up today and use promo code XJETS. And after placing your first $100 wager, you will receive $100 to bet with. You will receive a $50 free bet and a $50 casino bonus. Again, the promo code is XJETS. Offer subject to change. Offer only available in New Jersey. Terms and conditions apply. You must be 21 or older to participate. Please visit wynnbet.com to view welcome offers available in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, New York, Tennessee, and Virginia.
Yeah, you know what I was thinking about watching Kenneth Walker on Sunday? Damn, it's a shame that the Jets don't have Brees Hall out here because it would have been fun to watch both of those backs on the same field. But for the Jets, it was not in the cards. Sauce Gardner, 4 PDs yesterday. First-time Pro Bowler. He is going to be the Defensive Rookie of the Year. He should be an All-Pro. Where does he rank in terms of cornerbacks right now? Just take away the rookies. Like throughout the National Football League, how good is this guy?
I mean, I think he's definitely top 5, and depending who you favor, it changes up and down. But for me, the best corner in the league to me all year, in my opinion, has been Zaire Alexander, and I think he
Mm-hmm.
came in from last year as the number 1 guy, and because their team wasn't winning a lot, I think he got overshadowed. But you can make a case for Patrick Surtain, who's a young guy as well. You can make a case for Sauce. You can make a case for Tyreek Woolen. He made some outstanding plays yesterday too. Dropped a couple picks. His future is bright as well. Lattimore came back. He's been that dude. He's been injured. Big play Slay. It's some talented guys out there that's capable of being on islands.
You started your career in Baltimore, multiple playoff appearances there. Then you came here and you had 09 and 10. So you weren't in this situation a ton.
Right.
What do you think it's going to be like for these players and these coaches this week? And how do you go about your business knowing what slipped through your fingers, but you still have a game against a division rival on tap?
When you're young, you don't know. You're just excited to be playing football. So, like, the young guys on the team are excited. The older guys, they want to go out and they want to go out with a win because they know, quite frankly, it can be their last opportunity to play on this team because decisions are going to be made. And clearly this team wasn't good enough to get to where they needed to go. So the consequences are they're going to have to upgrade some positions and guys are going to start looking at their cap numbers. And this is going to be the first time for these young guys to see the consequences of falling short of your goal. Like, falling short of your goal costs people their jobs. And, it's going to be guys that's going to understand they got high cap numbers. It's going to be decisions that are going to be made. It's going to be contracts that has to be extended or added. And you think about Quentin Williams, you think about C.J. Mosley, but tough decisions like, Dwayne Brown, tough decisions like Carl Lawson, tough decisions like Corey Davis, right? And I think this is important for young guys to understand that you take advantage of every year because you just never know, like, who you're going to lose or when it's your time to maybe be a decision that was made in a different light.
Yeah, but to that point, that's why I was mad a few weeks ago where people are saying, well, the Jets are ahead of schedule. But you just said it right there. Yeah, maybe people outside didn't expect them to be where they're at and the opportunity at hand, but they did have the opportunity at hand, and you never know what changes year to year.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know if you're going to be healthy next year. You don't know if the other teams in your division are just going to get that much better, right? You don't know what decision they're going to make. And you could be a better team, but they can, pass you, and then you find yourself on that perpetual, treadmill where it's like, man, we're better, but man, we got a tough schedule this year. We lost some tough ones. That's why every year you got to take advantage of it because you just don't know if you're going to get the opportunity to have another chance.
You laid it all out there, and these guys are laying it all out there. But when Mosley says after the Jacksonville game, and God, he's been so good throughout the year, that we didn't match the intensity of the Jaguars, and then Tyler Conklin says after the Seattle game, which the Jets lose 23-6, that we were flat. As a former player, when you hear things like that, what goes through your mind?
Flat's an excuse, right? When you say flat, that's another word for execution. And them being able to, I thought that Seattle once again had a tremendous scheme. They blitzed early in the down once they realized and figured out, hey, man, Mike White ain't Mike White. And, he ain't really he's coming up short on these balls. He's missing. He's rusty. Man, there's no need for us to sit back and play coverage. Let's light him up. And so early in downs, they run blitzed, much like the Lions did. The Lions run blitz early in downs to get you behind the sticks. And, the Jets didn't make enough plays to make them respect. They didn't have enough balance. And I thought they were running the ball really good.
They
right?
were.
But the defense came out and they gave up a touchdown first drive, and that's not the recipe for success for the Jets. They're not built to put up a bunch of points. And they were putting up field goals and not putting up touchdowns. They didn't answer. And when you don't answer, you have to pay the consequences. And the consequences was that you walk away with not what you wanted.
Yeah, I hit the nail on the head with this Jets defense, right? Can you speak to that a little bit? Because, I think processing everything, when you look at this system and the way Saleh wants it built, it's to come after the quarterback.
Yep.
And a lot of that is predicated on the lead. So if you don't have the lead, then you're not playing to the strengths of your system, obviously.
And they need some fat boys, right? And when you look at Seattle, same system, right? That you would think they got the same philosophy. I mean, I saw Reed, that used to play with Willie, used to be on the Steelers. Dude's about 360. right? Number 97, he was about 360. The Jets don't have a player like that. The only player they had that was close to that last year was Fadakasi. And it's a hole in the gap in their system. They need a big, massive man that can eat up double teams. So then now it's 5-on-5, because then you can't double Quinnen and double, big fatty, right? And you look at Dexter Lawrence, we don't have that type of player. And that's a gap in our system. We have to find us a 350 plus pound massive man that can eat up double teams, because it's vital. It's important when you only rush 4. You can get away with it with penetration and stuff like that when you potentially have like a 3-4. When you're a 4-3 team, you got to have you a big anchor in there. It just always works that way, because you have to have somebody that can eat up gaps, because even though Quentin Williams, should be an all-pro this year, he's not that massive Chris Jenkins, Haloti Ngata, Casey Hampton, Ted Washington type of guy, and you need that type of guy if you're only going to rush 3.
Yeah, you've been a big proponent of having the big fatty for a long time. That's nothing new coming out of your mouth. But it is interesting that heading into the season, if you had a question mark about the Jets defense, it would be about the rush defense, and they held up very well. But your point about the tackling, you've seen some of that erode here down the stretch, right?
Yeah, because you think about it, they're just double teaming, getting movement. You love Solomon Thomas and his effort, but he's just not a big man. So if you can get movement up there, then it makes it more difficult. And listen, everybody, whether they admit it or they're on the injury report or not, are beat up and hurt.
Hell yeah. Yep.
And it's just a matter of physics. The bigger man, stronger man, the guy that's fresher, usually is able to win those matchups when you get to these late games. I mean, hell, how can you explain Carolina, how they running downhill? You know what I mean? Because they got big, powerful outfit, and you run downhill, right now guys just aren't equipped to hold up physically. Everybody's put together with duct tape and glue right now.
Yeah, I'll never forget what your training room looked like downstairs heading into that AFC Championship game against Pittsburgh. I don't remember what the injury report was, but, I mean, it was something else. It looked like an infirmary, guys walking out of the training room at that point in the season.
Yeah, man, and you're just hoping that you got enough. You just hope that you're not injured. You're less injured than your opponents. That's all you – it's like one of those things. You just want to be fresher than your opponent, and you do all your best, but sometimes it's unfortunate.
Okay, so we got to end in a second, but can the Jets – you said this could be a lesson for them that they could take moving forward. Can they really take something from these games? Or do you look at more like the Buffalo, the Minnesota game, where these couple games is like you didn't have much. You just saw that, Seattle and Jacksonville took it to you for 60 minutes.
No, good teams find a way to win, to finish. And as these younger players mature into their body and learn how to be a professional, they'll learn how to build their body to be successful and to stay fresh. And that's important too, right? Being able to know how you invest in your body, what your routine is going to have to be. How do you stay strong throughout the season? How much cardio do you do? How much extra lifting do you do? How much how much chiropractor, personal masseuse? That's all investments that come out of your pocket that's away from the facility. You hear about the great athletes like LeBron James and how much money he invests in his body throughout his career. Chris Paul, even Russell Wilson. It's about how much money how important it is to you, and you find it out what makes you stay healthy and play at a high level for all 17.
If you're solid this week, do you take a long look at some of those young guys and I don't have the roster in front of me. I don't have anybody top of mind right now, but
Nazardine, you saw guys like that. What I mean, out there.
Hamza, yep.
Yeah, I mean, you get them opportunities to play. But, I mean, I think you also want a chance to maybe knock Miami out. If I can't go, you can't go either, especially with the comments of Tyreek Hill early in the process when he made light of, who the Jets? Okay, yeah, you ain't going either. If I can't go, you can't go. Take that with you.
Yeah, is that something they talk amongst themselves in the locker room, that we want to be spoiler? We don't want the Dolphins to go?
If I can't go, I'll be damned if somebody within my division is about to have a good time and have an extra game and get that type of experience.
What if you're solid, what do you say to them this week, early in the week, once you get back here Wednesday?
Listen, finish strong, because no matter what, everybody's not going to be here. So put your best effort out there so that you can play for somewhere else, because people see how you finish when there's nothing to play for.
And we're going to get to the quarterback bit once we break down the season next week. But, man, it's been something else for the Jets at the quarterback position this year.
Yeah, I mean, you look at like a team like the Giants and what they've been able to do, but they've had consistency at the quarterback position. So, I mean, it's so different for everybody. This guy, 5-step drop is different. This guy, ball is different. This guy, cadence and rhythm is different. The one place where you got to have consistency at and got to have, the same person is the quarterback position.
Yeah. Who you like in the AFC right now, and who you like in the NFC?
I like the Bengals right now.
Yeah. So you got them winning. You got them winning tonight at home.
I do.
Okay.
I do, which could be bad news because I think they hate the Patriots enough that they wouldn't just lay an egg for the Patriots either. You know what I mean? If they lost, I think they wouldn't want to go. I'm trying to think. You wouldn't.
They'd probably still be playing for a 2 or 3 seed, like you're saying, the Bills.
Exactly, because they wouldn't want to be far behind Cincinnati. With saying regular Cincinnati, even though Cincinnati has a game with Baltimore. If Cincinnati loses today, then it gets flexed, and then they're going to be playing the Baltimore Ravens for the division, where it seemed like they had the division wrapped up.
Okay, so is Cincinnati AFC, NFC? You got Frisco?
Yeah, I got Frisco. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I like the way they play football.
And give me a dark horse emerging. Are the Chargers a dark horse?
Nah, I just don't think defensively they do enough.
Okay.
I do like them on the offensive side of the ball. Bosa coming back, makes them better. They don't stop the run. They're a team that I think can surprise somebody in a wild card, but I think eventually they have a ceiling.
So you still see Cincinnati, Kansas City, maybe Buffalo, those
Right.
3 going to duke it out. Yeah.
And you just never know. Like a team that can upset some people are the Ravens if Lamar Jackson comes back, just because he can be special. And if you watch the TCU game, you see that a mobile quarterback can kind of mess up everything. You do everything right, and a mobile quarterback can make you pay, like no other position in the league.
Speaking of TCU, puncher's chance against Georgia, or you expect them to win that game?
I mean, Georgia escaped. It's like if Marvin Harris Jr. doesn't get hurt, that's a totally different situation. I know that's a big if, but somebody taking a personal foul shot on somebody, not getting ejected, helmet to helmet, shouldn't have cost the Ohio State Buckeyes the national championship. But that's football, and it worked out in Georgia's favor. But it definitely would have been not the same outcome if Marvin Harrison Jr. hadn't got injured.
Yeah, he's going to be a freak on the next level. Well, all right, brother. What's this week looking like for you?
Well, getting back on the bike, man. I was gonna go back to local with the radio station, and back to TV, man. Unfortunately, I won't be talking about the Jets, much. I'm sure we'll talk about them, but we won't be talking about them in the postseason. So, it's always tough that way.
All right, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, I'm gonna cry in the car.